Except the curtain that rises to the stage. Silly games of second guessing. I just forget the lessons that I couldn't learn. Because one street over there's a life I could have known that would have kept me from the one I have today. I could have known, one beyond my wildest dreams. Maybe that road could have carried me to streets of gold, but things aren't always as they seem. Looking back on all the chances that I missed, some I held, some slipped away. One street over where my memories exist, I wondered what would change, I really couldn't say. In this life there's nothing certain, except the curtain that rises to the stage. Silly games of second guessing, I just forget the lessons that I couldn't learn. Because one street over there's a life I could have known that would have kept me from what I have today.
W.L.U. Maldonado. He is just, he's once perfect. And live radio is not perfect, man. That's just the way it goes. I've been doing live radio since, I'm afraid to say, 1984. Oh, and some of the things that have happened. I had somebody shoot a bottle rocket at me while I was doing traffic one time in studio. And I kept a straight face. And I'll just tell you, I'm talking with my guest, Daryle Walker is here this morning. And so welcome to it. Welcome to it. And you're my neighbor. You just live up the street. I just live up the street too. Pull that microphone, tip it down, and where you're talking right into the front of it for me. But we have so much fun here. I love, thank you so much, Ebenezer Broadcasting, for still letting me be a part of live radio. People say, they'll see us on social media, they say, I saw your podcast. I'm like, that's not a podcast, that's radio. That's still radio, y'all. Come on. And so I'm just so blessed to live just a couple of miles from here, and I get to do this. And my goodness, I'll do this until I just can't physically do it anymore because it's just fun. It gets in your blood. So how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. Got up early and the cold temperatures. So
don't you love it?
Woke me right up.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it's just a breath of fresh air when you step out into the I wish we could just keep this, you know. I've spent some time out in California. We have a mission point down in Baja, Mexico that we go to, and we facilitate out of San Diego. Well, we go fly into San Diego and then drive across the border, and then we facilitate out of Ensenada. And that weather on the coast, it's just incredible. And so we get a little kiss of it, you know, we get a little hint of it, and I feel like that's what heaven's going to be, man. We're going to have It's gonna be fall-like weather, spring-like weather all the time. No allergies, all the things. But anyway, yes, living right in Robertson County. Got that fall. And let me real quick say, tonight is I've got my shirt on from, I don't know, last year or the year before, Open Door Pregnancy and Resource Center. Their big event is tonight. We've got, of course, flyers sitting here, and we're going to continue to remind you, get to the center tonight. This doors open at 5:30. It starts at 6, but you can come vote for your favorite chili. It's the Chili Challenge, and it's one of their big fundraisers that we have for Open Door. And Open Door is one of our nonprofits that's changing our community from the inside out, making a difference in our community in a big way. Everybody says, what can we do to make things better? Here's what you can do. You can support organizations like Open Door Pregnancy and Resource Center. So please, I'll be there at some point tonight. But I hope you'll come out. My friend Muriel is one of their judges. I can't wait to see all that. That's going to be fun. But we want to talk about, this is huge, 200 years. The Mount Sharon Cumberland Presbyterian Church. Oh, my goodness. Man, that's a long time.
It's a long time.
My goodness. Now, what is your affiliation with the church?
I've been a member since birth.
Wow.
I'm presently an elder, one of 6 elders that the church has. We have an elder system, and we function as a church body. Everyone participates.
That's awesome.
Everyone serves. Everyone does their part. It's just a very blessed church and joyous occasion, particularly to be able to celebrate 200 years.
That's amazing.
And
I mean, so you say you were born there. So what is your history with the church as far as your family? How long has your family been a part of the church?
my family has been a part of the church for the whole 200 years.
Wow. That's cool.
My generation, what generation back grandfather was one of the original elders in the church, and ever since that time, we've had 8 generations in the church. And that was on my grandmother's side, and on my father's side, we've been in the church for 6 generations. So we have a long history. But our church is also made up of a lot of families who have 3 and 4 generations, some presently, some in the past, and then we even get down to, if you're a new member, you've just started your first generation with our church.
But that's wonderful, and what a wonderful legacy. I mean, that is something I think that we take for granted, are these legacies of our heritage, and we need to embrace it so much. I think one of my greatest regrets is there was a little church up in West Kentucky that we were a part of, Fossamdale Church of Christ, and my family's heritage was that church. And unfortunately, you have church conflicts and things,
Right.
and we just find my family had to leave. They just had to leave, and that's unfortunate because that's not what God's called us to. He's called us to unity in the body. But that was that I still miss the just being there, and just because of I don't know, it's just something about that childhood memory of that auditorium and just the things that developed me spiritually as a kid. I wish I could still go back.
Yes.
And I don't feel like I can,
Right.
And so to be able to keep that legacy going, I honor you for that, because that's so special, because that's hard.
It is hard.
That is hard to keep something vital for all those years. Because, I mean, the church I mentioned, I mean, it's like nothing anymore. I mean, there's hardly anybody there because of, and that's just a shame. And so to be able to say we've got 200 years and we've got people that have been there from the beginning, and you've got, to say everybody does their part.
Yeah.
Everybody volunteers. That is powerful.
It is huge.
You better believe
it. Just comes together, but they're all doing it for the same purpose of supporting God and serving. It's we've served the community, and we include like Springfield as part of the community.
Right.
But originally, it was the community camp meetings were started there even before the church was formed in 1824, and they say in an article that I read that it was for this area, in a place called Wells Valley, which I'm not sure where that is, were the 2 of the major meeting campsites for families during that time, and they would come and spend basically 2 weeks there.
Gospel
meetings. And unfortunately, a lot of our history, we've been around 200 years, but 114 years of our history was destroyed in 2 different fires. So we really don't know all the events. Now, all the members have gotten together, and particularly the ladies, because they're the more creative as far as setting up displays with pictures and recounting the last 50 to 60 years, which is vital, but that's what people will remember. So it's just been and anytime we have a project, the community comes and supports our church tremendously. We would like to invite them to our celebration this weekend. We're going to on Saturday have free ham breakfast, games, farmers market, just kind of a festive day that we assume that they did back when they camped there, because they came and camped and lived there for 2 weeks. So, and then on Sunday we'll have a special program as far as just kind of presenting a few facts of the church history, and hopefully, we'd like to invite you to come and attend and learn about our church. We have some very outstanding people in the church. We have a young pastor that's serving us now. He and his family have come in and done an excellent job, and he's done a great job of leading our church in the right direction of supporting God, and so just please come out and join us.
So who is your minister now?
His name is Taylor Kibler,
Okay.
and he and his wife have been there. They have a little 5-year-old, and then they have I guess about 2 weeks old, not quite 2 weeks old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so he's helped. They're growing the church. We have new members all the time. We've just had another family that had one this week, or this
So
week.
you got babies coming
so we
in.
got babies.
So that's wonderful, because
Yeah,
a lot
it
of
is.
times in some of these older congregations, it's older folks.
Well, that's basically ours is made up of older folks, but we do have some young people coming in. There's some other young children in those families. So that's one step at a time, and they're very active in the church. So they join, and we mix well, the young and the old.
Oh, I've some of my best relationships are with people that are a couple of generations. I mean, 20 years older than me, even 30, 40 years older
Yes.
than me. Of course, now I'm 61. So, but I'm saying when you volunteer in a church, like, well, I go to a really large congregation, but when you volunteer, you get to know the people that have kept those congregations vital.
Yeah, right.
And if you're young and you don't have relationships with people, 40, 50 years older than you, you have no idea what you're missing. You just have no idea
Right.
what you're missing, because there's just the life experience that you. That's why in Scripture we're supposed to honor the folks who are older than us, and just the wealth of just blessings that will come to your life if you do that.
Right.
So, I mean, when you're looking for a home congregation, these country churches that have been around a long time, you just can't imagine the blessings that will. You want somebody, if you're new, let's just say there's so many new people here. And if you're having a hard time plugging in and finding your family, maybe you don't have family. I've got a lot of immigrant friends that left their families in their countries of origin and came here. And if you're trying to find a place to plug in and really be family, go to one of these little small congregations. And if you don't think that they won't circle around you, and you will have grandparents, you'll have aunts and uncles, you will have everything that you left behind wherever you're from, if you'll just step foot in one of these little congregations like this. And it sounds wonderful. It sounds absolutely wonderful. So you've got the events on Saturday with your farmers market and all of that, but then you're going to, on Sunday, what's the structure of what you're going to be doing on Sunday exactly?
Well, we just have basically our normal service,
Okay.
modified. We're very fortunate that we have the state proclamations coming in. Dr. Kumar has worked with the state, Billy Vogel with the county, and we have presentations of proclamations because they're recognizing that we've been 200 years as part of this state and as part in this county. And the original Samuel Crockett, who gave the land to the church, was one of 5 commissioners appointed by the state back when Robertson County and Springfield was chosen as the county seat. So we go a long way back in history. As one of the session members said, that when you think about it, the 200 years is a long time, but America is 248 years old. So we've been around for lots of changes in history. We were fortunate that, or I have been, that my grandmother and my dad were in the church all of their life, and they lived to be 93 and 95 years old.
Wow.
So there's other members that have been there a lot of their lifetimes. So fortunately, I go back to the 8th, but we have families that started 4 generations ago, and they're still in the church. So, so we've just been very blessed, and it is a loving, caring church, and people say that we're a warm, welcoming church. That's comments we hear. So hopefully we live up to that reputation.
Well, and that's what we're called to be. We're called to just circle around people and just draw them in and be family. I think that's something people, really miss. And is if, for those, I guess it's very hard for people like you and me to separate ourselves from being raised in the church.
Right.
Right. But, I like I said, getting to go to Mexico every year and do mission work down there, and then come home. And then I've got a lot of friends that have immigrated here from different countries. and they consider us the mission field now.
Oh,
And that, I mean, it blows my mind. I've
Yeah.
got a lot of friends from Egypt, and some of them, I ask them what, they're from an area, and we're going to talk about a lot of things because I don't know if you know it or not, but they said we could talk for an hour. Can you
Oh,
talk
is
to
that
me?
right?
Yeah. We got an hour today.
they didn't
And
tell me that
They
part.
didn't tell you that part. Well, because I like to, a lot of times we'll do like 30-minute segments, but when I find something interesting, I'll give the guests and say, do you think we could, have an hour's conversation? And maybe I'm wrong, but I got you for an hour, so we'll talk. But you've been here, you've been in this area, you were born in this county,
Right.
and the things that you can teach those that are new, I think is just vital because people are coming here in droves. Well, why are they coming here? There's a reason, and you know why, because you grew up here, and it's something you can't find elsewhere. And so what is that? Is it that we're in the Bible Belt and we're spiritually driven, and how do we encourage people to not taint that? That's one of the challenges is we are
Right.
seeing so many people come in and they're like, oh, we love it here. And we're like, and we'd like to keep it that way.
Right.
And you're welcome, be here. But we want you to understand people are coming to us for a reason. And I know the core reason is because they feel the presence of the Spirit here,
Right.
of the Holy Spirit is what I'm talking about.
Very much so.
You better believe it. You cannot miss it when you come in. And that's not to say it's perfect. I just get so tired of people going, well, yeah, but this. And it's like, yeah, because it's a fallen world and you're going to have but this. I don't care where you go. Right?
Right.
And you've got to just get beyond that and say, but what have you got for me to do, Lord? And what can I do to be your hands and feet? And I think one of the things that struck me most about when you started talking is what you said about your congregation, how everybody's involved.
Right.
That's a hard thing to do. And I think it probably would be easier to stir in a congregation that's a little more rural and smaller. But I've seen big churches, that everybody does something, and it's amazing when you can accomplish that.
Right.
But but do y'all get along all the time?
Well, not necessarily.
I'm being
Not
facetious.
necessarily. No, we
Yeah.
do. We do. We share different ideas. We share different thoughts, particularly with as I mentioned, we have an elder system that is a rotating system where you serve for a term of 3 years. So that changes 2 people each year. You get different ideas and thoughts in that way, and we will discuss ideas, just like putting this particular event together. We've discussed all kinds of different ideas, and sometimes if your idea is not accepted, then you don't wear a chip on your shoulder and say, well, why didn't we do it this way? We tried to arrive at the best possible way to do it, to make it fun for everybody, to keep everybody involved, and it's a celebration. We do other events to help fund the missions of the church. We have an annual fish fry that is.
We've talked about that. We've had some people from your congregation on before, I think, because I think I remember talking about what's the timeline on the fish fry? When is it?
That's typically in August of each year.
Okay.
And it's I think it's about 15 years. Then we have an annual golf tournament.
Cool.
That is approaching 20 years as
I
far
don't
as.
think I've heard a congregation that had a golf tournament. That's usually like a chamber
service,
yeah. So that's interesting.
Yeah, we've been
Really?
very successful. Of course, it started out as a project to help raise funds to build. We did a fellowship hall edition in 2008, and it started out as a project for that, to help fund as much as we possibly can without having to borrow money to build. And then so those have been very successful. Everybody has a good time. It is a lot of work to put them together, and there's people that step up and do kind of organize those events each year. And then when it comes down to it, like the fish fry, from cooking to washing dishes, it takes everybody serving. It takes everybody doing their part to make it function well, and it has been very successful. But we use the funds now to fund missions for the church, whatever that might be. We serve A lot of different organizations. We work with COPE, United Ministries, the Master's Table.
Couple of my favorites local.
Yeah.
So if you're new and you're listening, those are two. Just again, everything you're saying is making me go, okay, because you're connected to all the things that, as somebody, because I'm not from here. I'm from West Kentucky, and one of my biggest mistakes coming to Robertson County in '92 was not plugging into my local community. We were a commuter family.
Yes.
Everything my career was in Nashville. My husband was a roofing contractor, and we did local work, and so he knew the community better than I did, but we did a lot of things outside, like in Davidson County. We were just all over. And then our kids went to Good Pasture. We had church, our church is Madison Church of Christ. So we gotten started in Nashville, and I don't have any regrets because Madison's my family as far as that church. They're my spiritual family, because when you're both, that's why if you're new and you've not plugged into a congregation, that's your family. None of my husband and I don't have immediate family. We have a nephew here now, and a couple of nephews actually, but that came down from Michigan. But we didn't have any local family, and then we had these. We moved here with twins, and we just didn't think about embracing the local community, and plugging in a church is one of the best ways you can do it.
Very much so.
And not being in the local schools, we were in a Christian, and we went to Christian school because Jesus was there. Period. We just wanted to be somewhere where God was welcomed in.
Yes.
And that was a sacrifice for us. That's a hard thing. So, but what you can do when you plug into the local community, and as you're sitting here talking about COPE and United Ministries and the Master's Table, again, those are just some of those nonprofits that are, like I was saying about Open Door, changing our community from the inside out.
Yes.
They're being the hands and feet of Jesus. COPE, if you don't know what, with COPE, the thrift store there, everything you bring, they have no administrative cost. It's all volunteers. And everything you take in there that is sold in that thrift store goes back into the community. So if you know somebody that's just, about to be homeless because they can't pay their rent, they might be able to help.
Right.
And you can go and connect with them. When my parents passed away and we cleaned out their farmhouse this past year, we've continued just to take stuff rather than have a sale that we're going to get pennies for their life.
Right. Exactly.
My brother and I, we just didn't want to do it. My nephew,
right.
We were just like, we just don't want to do that. We don't want to do that with what mom and daddy had. And my mother collected birds. If you see a bunch of birds at Cope, they're my mama's. I was going to tell you, they're my mama's. There's little glass animals she collected. I kept a few, but I can't keep them all. Right. They're my mama's. And so I can probably go in there and tell you, yep, because my mother just collected them. And so if you're new to the community, everything he's saying, you're plugged in exactly where you need to be. So I think you'd be an awesome congregation for people to come in and just make family.
We would love for you to be there.
Absolutely. And this is a great opportunity, too, to see what it's all about this weekend.
Right.
And to
learn about the history, where we came from.
Exactly. I love that. I just think that's wonderful. And I can't say enough about it, guys. This is just a wonderful opportunity, a wonderful time for you to just kind of see what the community is about. But and I love that you're having that you're having it 2 days and just that welcoming farmers market situation on Saturday,
right,
where you're welcoming everybody in. I just think that's wonderful. But just such a blessing. But so we're going to continue to talk. Like I said, I've got him for an hour, and I'm sitting here looking at my notes, and we had somebody tentative coming at 7:30, and we forgot to, because I get kind of scattered, I forgot to follow up on that. So yeah, I think they did want you just here for a half hour, but you can talk to me for a while, don't you think?
I'll try.
You'll try?
We'll come up with something.
Absolutely.
I believe you can fill in the gap for me.
Truth be told, I can sit here and just talk. I'll get Bible lessons out because I love to teach ministry stuff, and so I've always got a Bible lesson in my hat that I'll bring out and share with you. I shared some stuff on the Beatitudes last night at Celebrate Recovery that we could talk about. Do you teach Bible classes?
No, we have some excellent other teachers.
You do?
And we have Wednesday night programs. We have, of course, excellent Sunday school teachers, and throughout our history, we've had youth. Just there's a variety of things that you can get involved in, but I'm not the teacher.
You're not the teacher. Well, and it's a call. It's a call that I have felt my entire life, and so I just love it. But we have you heard of Celebrate Recovery before? It's a program I mean, you can find it in so many different churches, and there's no like denomination affiliation. It started at the Saddleback Church out in California, but I mean, we're a Church of Christ. We have one. There's Presbyterian churches, Methodist, every genre, community churches that you can have a Celebrate Recovery. But the foundation of it, if you hear the word recovery and you think alcohol and drugs, well, that's just a piece of it. While you do take care of that, it's hurts, habits, and hangups, which we all have, all of us. And so the other 70% is people that are just dealing with anxiety. Maybe they spend too much money, eat too much. They have all the social issues that life brings us in a fallen world. But at the foundation of it, you know how you hear about step programs where they talk about their higher power. That drives me nuts. We name our higher power as Jesus Christ. Right. And we have these little Jesuses that we hand out at our Celebrate Recovery. And it's like, if you've been struggling with recovery at something that just says higher power, here, try a little Jesus, and you're going to want a whole lot more, and it'll make a difference. But we use the steps based on a 12-step program, but we also bring in principles based on the Beatitudes. And so I love to. Do you have anybody in your congregation that talks about studying from a Middle Eastern perspective, like through Middle Eastern eyes, and how the scriptures were written to people from the Middle East, and what would they have perceived it to be? Do you have anybody that does that?
Not necessarily. I think our pastors try to incorporate that into, through the years. I mean, maybe their perspective, but we don't have anyone that. You just try to relate what the Bible says to events back then.
Yeah.
And as you kind of see, events today are kind of the same thing, or happening in, somewhat format. And talking about teaching like that, one thing with our small church, you was asking if I was a teacher. Well, I have been in the past, but we have several, everybody is involved. It's where you're a session member, a Sunday school teacher, a musician, a pianist, just the list. In part of my presentation, I just have a list of things that can go on. And in a smaller church, as I mentioned, we have a rotating system of elders, for example. But
that's incredible. I think that's cool. I've never heard that. Go ahead. Yeah.
A lot of the things that we have that we talk about in here, you probably are going to have the opportunity to serve in as many of those capacities as you would have a desire to. I mean, as far as serving in some of those roles, because we are a smaller community church, and as I mentioned earlier, everybody gets involved, so it does, create opportunities. When you're involved like that, it means more to you. Just with working with the other community projects, another project that we work with, or that people volunteer for, is the Pink Ladies at the hospital.
Oh, wow.
We have a very strong, it's called Cumberland Presbyterian Women. It's CPW. That's the women's organization for, Cumberland Presbyterian Church. And it's just amazing the things that they do and serve. And one of their primary mission is supporting mission work in the Middle East or wherever, in the community and even abroad. So we have had 5 people that I can remember over the history of our church that have gone to the mission fields as missionaries. And we presently have one over there that was our former pastor before Taylor came in, that she felt God calling her to go to the mission field, and she's serving kind of in a medical capacity over there. Wow. She was a nurse at Vanderbilt for 30 years, and but we've had other people throughout our history to go to the mission fields and devote their lives to it.
Where is she serving?
In Hades.
Oh, man, that's amazing.
Yeah, it is.
That's amazing.
So,
and this was your former minister?
Yes.
You had a woman minister?
Yes, we have a lady minister. She's very good.
I love y'all.
Yeah. Well,
That's wonderful.
the Cumberland Presbyterian Church has several lady ministers and has, I don't know exactly when the first one was ordained, but it's been over several years. So there are
Really?
several really outstanding lady ministers.
Y'all are ahead of the curve.
We try to be.
God bless y'all. That's wonderful. Man, you just went way up on my. I didn't know that about the Presbyterian Church.
Yeah, it's Cumberland Presbyterian.
Cumberland.
Now there
Hey,
is a
what's the
difference.
difference? What's the difference?
There's
okay.
just theologically there are
It's
some
theology.
minor,
Yeah.
some minor differences because
Sure.
it started out as a Presbyterian church, and then
Interesting.
in 1810, three people. It was during the I'm trying to think of the word, the Bible.
Was it the?
Excuse me.
I know what you're talking about.
Great revival.
The Great Revival, but it's like
period.
I know what you're thinking. I'm trying to think of it too because there was a lot of development in the Church of Christ about that same time.
Right.
And I've got something about that written somewhere, and I can't remember the Campbell. No, that's the Church of Christ stuff.
Yeah.
But it's
Well,
like a lot of it started because of camp meetings.
Yeah, it
Things
definitely
like that.
started.
That's where
our start came
Yeah.
from, was camp meetings.
because people get together and they get their heads together and they go, "Oh, you're thinking this too? Yeah, me too. Well, let's look at it a little deeper and let's dig a little deeper and like, oh, maybe we need to look at this way."
Well,
and that's how that comes together. Yeah.
It was formed in 1810, and they met down there's a cabin at Montgomery Bell State Park. That's where the original was formed in 1810, and then camp meetings were continuing like at Mount Sharon. They had started many years before we organized in 1824, but that's
I'm
where
looking
it
up, see
came
if I can
from.
find
Okay.
So go
But
ahead.
It was from the camp meetings, and as I said early on in some of the articles that were written, that the Sharon community at that time was known as one of the larger camp meeting areas in the Middle Tennessee because it lists people came from miles around, and Robertson, Sumner, Davidson, Cheatham. It was just and all of them had a lot of family in the area and continue to. But our congregation is very diverse as far as, even though we're a small rural congregation, we have people that have experiences from all walks of life, been very professional people. Of course, the community was a farming community when it started out, and as you had mentioned earlier, with the transition of new people to the area, it's changed a lot. Of course, our church is like everybody else. It had growth of, for years and years, but as times changed and people who were members, they may moved away because of marriage, work. Everybody started spreading out. Well, we've benefited also from that because people have moved to this area and, given our church a try. And I wouldn't want to put percentage on it, but hopefully the majority that came that first Sunday just to visit are still with us. They make up our congregation today. So it has changed over time. I've looked back. I was session clerk for a few years, and I've looked back at all the old roll books, and as far as I can get back. Fortunately, we had several members that were very good about retaining records. My grandmother was one. Her sister lived to be 99, and she was in the church. Her husband actually ended up serving as minister at it at one time. So them, and there's Paul and Margaret Walker have been very active in our community and history for they joined the church in 1921 and 1927, for example.
Wow.
So they were excellent people. The reason I make reference to them because they were excellent record keepers and writers, and they kept a lot of history. Fortunately, my grandmothers, and my great aunt wrote down stories about things that happened. So that's the only way we've been able to retain what little knowledge we have of what was back then. The local papers were good about interviewing those people because they were good about covering community events, just like you doing this program today.
Right.
The local stations have always been involved and give us the opportunity to come in and, tout our program for this weekend. But those are the only way we've been able to retain some records of what went on during those times. And a lot of those records are stories about events that happened. And so they were instrumental. Like I said, some of the writers of different articles and papers have been instrumental in maintaining or knowing what history we have been able to obtain during that time. So,
do you have somebody that goes and pours through the archives? Because we got a wonderful archives here. And,
well, we have
and
Robert Adcock has worked on a book of history. I get to do the easy part of the talking, and but he has worked on a book of going to the archives, in gathering this information to try to do. We did a history book in at the 150th anniversary, which was
is
in
that what this
1970.
is?
That's what this
Okay,
is.
can I see?
So, but he has gone a lot more extensive into it with different histories and so forth. So, yes, we've used the archives. If I have time, I'll tell a little story about the archives.
That'd be great. So let me do a commercial. I've got a couple of
Okay.
commercials. See, it's almost 22 and we haven't stopped talking, so we can easily fill up an hour. When I hear about congregations like this, I'm fascinated and I love stories, and that's. You can sit here and you can say this, and this, and you can give like a little bullet point of your history. But it's when you tell those stories, that's when it makes an impression and it sticks with people. And so I'm a big storyteller, and I love that. So let's do that. But let me go ahead and do one of my breaks. I got a couple of them we need to do. We're going to continue to remind you about the Open Door Pregnancy and Resource Center Chili Challenges tonight. It's $10 to get in the door, I think. And so as you get in there, if you get $10 to get in the door, if I'm not mistaken, and then you get a little, you get permission to go around and try all the chilies. Now, we all want you to bring also a pocket full of money so you can vote for your favorite, and that's how they raise money. There's going to be all kinds of folks in the back testing it to find out the winner. It's a lot of fun. This is a place you're going to see everybody. So you want to get to the Chili Challenge tonight. The doors will open at 5:30 at the center, right in the heart of downtown. It's going to officially start at 6 p.m. Usually takes a couple of hours. You don't want to miss it because everybody's there. You really want to come out to this. It is a blast. I love it. It's one of my favorite events that we do. And just love Sean for her heart and all of the people who work with her and so many volunteer hours. But just come and be a part of the Chili Challenge tonight and help raise funds for a organization that is changing our community from the inside out, and that's Open Door Pregnancy and Resource Center. Now, as I was saying, I had tentatively reached out to Veterans Motorplex, trying so hard to get Jerry or Charlie in here to talk about the Motorplex because we're just about at the end of the season. We've only got a couple of more guaranteed weeks that we're going to race, and that's, of course, weather permitting. Looks so far, I think it looks pretty good for the weather, but we want to remind you that Veterans Motorplex at the Rim, that is the place that if you've not been to the races, you have no idea how much fun you're missing. And it's right here in the heart of Robertson County. Really one of the best kept secrets, though. It's one of our historic places. So many greats have raced on that track, and they completely renovated it at the first year. It's beautiful out there. I drove by just to kind of see what's going on. But I have wanted so hard to get my grandson out there, but he's playing baseball, and they play baseball all the time. I have a love-hate relationship with baseball. I love that my grandson loves it, but it just intrudes on everything. And so I really want to get him to the races because I know he's going to have a blast. So get your kids together. I'm gonna maybe try again this weekend or next weekend. Next weekend, they're going to have the trunk or treat out of race cars. I love that. And they're doing it the weekend before Halloween. It's the 26th. Come out and the kiddos get to trunk or treat out of race cars. Come on. That is the coolest thing. It would be so much fun. So get out and be a part of that. A $40 ticket will get your entire family in unless you got more than 6 kids. You can get up to 6 kids and 2 adults in for $40, guys. Great deal. Perfect weather to get out to the races. So much fun. If you just come out, Charlie is an announcer out there, and he is just a blast. He is the best at it. He's just engaging, gets the crowd involved. They have things for the kids to do. They've got the concession stand there, so come hungry. They've got just everything you could want, great food. The local kids usually are working behind the counter there. I've gone in and seen my students working. So a lot of the times it's their first summer job. Just a great community place, and it is a family-friendly environment. No alcohol served, sold, not allowed. That's unusual for a racetrack, and a lot of people are a little bit put off by that, but I love what Jerry's trying to do. He's saying, I want this to be a family place. He's a veteran. He honors veterans. I mean, just an awesome place. You're going to love being a part of it if you just set foot on the Veterans Motorplex at the Rim, again, right here at the end of the season. Don't miss your opportunity to get out there. Cancel the ball game and go to Veterans Motorplex. They open the gates, I think, about 4:30. Racing starts about 7. And the hours, I'll get specifics on the hours for the trunk or treat that's happening next weekend, but that is an absolute blast. Hope you'll be a part of everything they're doing at Veterans Motorplex at the Rim, a loyal sponsor of the program, and we appreciate that so much. And when you get out there, just always let them know that you turned sent you, so they'll know they're start out. You guys, somebody could go to your big event on Saturday and still make it to the races.
Yes,
Because it's
so.
What are the hours on Saturday specifically?
It starts at 8 o'clock, and we are serving a free ham breakfast.
Right.
It'll end in the afternoon when everybody quits coming.
There you go.
So,
and I guarantee you that'll be about the time. Let's go down to the racetrack.
you'll have plenty of time.
Yeah,
you'll have plenty of time to get the races because we're not that far from the track.
There you go. It's very convenient. Just Google Map it, and you'll just be right there. But so you've got that on Saturday, and just a full. I mean, this is going to be one of those things you're going to drive by and you go, "Oh, I'm gonna stop in here and see what's going on." If you didn't know about it, but you've got can't beat a good country breakfast to start your day. They're going to have bakery items, best bakery items ever, or at events like this,
Right.
because these people know how to make stuff.
The ladies in the church know how to cook.
Yes, they do.
And we like to eat out there.
And they're going to have bounce houses and games for the kiddos. Live music. What kind of live music are you having? Who's going to be playing some music?
We're having a local group that I'm sorry, I don't remember their name right now, but we have had them in church. They are members of other local churches in the area. They got together and formed a band, so they'll be playing on Saturday morning.
Okay.
Bluegrass, country.
I was going to ask, what genre?
They'll work in some country, bluegrass, I'm sure, and probably even sing some of the old time gospel songs would be my guess.
Well, that is, that's our format now.
Yeah,
we're Southern gospel, and that's something that if you haven't realized it, guys, this station is growing again in popularity. People are turning it on more and more because the Southern gospel format has been neglected because I'm a contemporary Christian person. I really like the contemporary music. And so, that's what and so everybody's like, well, but people had quit playing on live radio, Southern gospel. And so when we flipped our format, it was a very wise decision. And I have people, I go out in public, I listen to you. And we're hearing it more and more and more. And there's a need for it. It fit a niche. And I love Southern. I love the adult. I love the contemporary Christian music. But man, this was an underserved market, and I just applaud Ebenezer for seeing that and making that switch. And so that's you're going to be able to see that kind of stuff live.
Right.
So I love the local bands. Man, we've got such musicians in this area. We are so blessed being in this Nashville area. And I saw a license plate the other day that you can get, I guess, from the state if you want it on your car. It says American Music State. In other words, it's like we're the state that music began, really, and where just so much of it grew out of here, and the foundations of so many of the genres of music is here and in our state. And so, man, you go out to any kind of live music show, you're going to be blown away. There's no question about it.
Right.
It's always good. So are these the same? Are these people who plays your music then? Do you have a band that does your worship time?
No.
Or do you have a piano?
We're old school with the piano. We have excellent music programs there. Our pianist is Rebecca. But we have had, through the years, we've had numerous people to play the piano. We've had numerous choir members. We've had numerous people who sing in the church congregation. We'll have a very good music program on Sunday morning. It's going to include some specials with the choir. I don't know if you've ever heard Tim and Pam Harris are going to sing a special. Tim's, of course, at the people in the community will know who Tim is. And
I don't think I've ever. I may have seen him somewhere and just didn't realize that was.
you know who he is. It was Tim Harris. He's out at the Robertson County Funeral Home.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Absolutely.
So, but anyway, they're going to do a special for us, and they have several. All the musicians have several things playing. We don't actually have a church band ourselves. This was they're actually members from other community churches that kind of got together and a lot of them go to the same community church. We have each year we have Thanksgiving services with several churches together.
Oh, fun.
A union Thanksgiving, and we do a service at Easter that a lot of the community churches, I think it's been as many as 10 that, we just get together and worship, and different people perform those nights from each church, and that's how we found them. And I think one of the members is related to one of our church members as well.
That's cool.
So you can hear a lot of music the 2 different days, and as you said, the food will be good. We've got different games set up from old timey, like croquet, badminton,
nice.
some of those type things, just to come and have fun. Spend as much time or as little time as you want. You'll hopefully have the opportunity to walk around our facilities. The ladies, as I had mentioned, or the gentlemen too, we have people who have made crafts to sell on farmers market. There are some canned goods, but the baked goods are going to be they really go all out, and they'll be sold. But that'll go on. But you can walk around that day, and because it's going to take a while if you take the time, just like trying to present this program that we're talking over this weekend, combining 200 years down to 2 days, or even to an hour, like you and I are talking this morning. You can't scratch the surface of things that you could talk about or tell about that have affected someone's life in this community or throughout the world. You just don't know who you touch and when you touch them. So, but the time frame we have to try to do our celebration is we'll pack as much as we possibly can in, but you can they say a picture's worth 1,000 words. I was out there last night, and the wall is just lined with poster boards with pictures, albums laid out, and hopefully those are out because I'm doing the presentation on Sunday, but trying to condense and figure out what to talk about 200 years into 20 minutes is kind of tough. You really scratch your head trying to figure out, well, what's the most important? Well, it's all important. And so hopefully what I say and the pictures and everything, they're there to jog your memories, about special events that happened, in your life in that church or because of something that church did for you. So come and share with us and just have a fun weekend.
I think so too. Now you promised us a story.
Oh well, okay.
So let's do that story. Because we had said that, and it's 10 till, Daryle. So I mean, we're just zipping right through. But so you promised us a story. What's the story you want to share?
Well, it's hard to kind of pick a story, but we had talked about old and time, and our cemetery was when Samuel Crockett gave the land to the church. That's how he owned the land, and he was one of the original commissioners, in Robertson County. But he built. There's out on Browns Fork Creek, going out Coopertown Road or Highway 49. There's a marker out there close to Glover Hills and when he first came to this area, he built an old fort there, and it was referred to as a block house, and that's where they would come, and work from there. But anyway, he donated the land to the church for our site, and in that proclamation, of course, they'd already, as I mentioned earlier, been doing camp meetings there, and so when it actually got around to a deed in 1839, he deeded 4 acres of land, a meeting house, which was a log house that they had built there, the campsite. Also on that site, we had arbors, and that's where they actually held the meetings, was in the brush arbors. That was their start, and then he deeded land for a public graveyard, as it's referred to in the deed that was recorded. So that graveyard has a lot of history in it. It's got people from all different wars. It's got the generations. For example, my family, the 8th generation, theirs is in there. But there's many, many other families that have generations of families in there. So and we have people stopping all the time doing their genealogy, looking for a tombstone, grave marker. Unfortunately, some have been lost over time. But I guess kind of one of the interesting stories was back several years ago. We got a call, Jim Bowie, who was a member of the church, and had actually went in and plotted the graveyard with all the markers, where his grave was marked or unmarked, because since it was free, you didn't get a certificate or a deed or anything to it. It was just, if your family came in and needed somewhere to be buried, that's where it was. But so anyway, you had mentioned to me the archives. Well, a gentleman from Pigeon Forge up in East Tennessee had called the archives, and that's how they got to our church. But anyway, he worked with a cabin rental company in Pigeon Forge. One of his employees came to him one morning and said, "There's a head marker or marker from a grave leaning up beside this building out here."
In Pigeon Forge?
In Pigeon Forge.
Okay.
And we didn't have no idea. The family didn't have any idea. But that grave marker. And so anyway, he started doing research and finally ended up coming through the archives here, and he actually put an ad in the paper. He was very dedicated and concerned about that marker not being in its proper place.
Yeah.
So anyway, he went through a lot of time and effort to determine. And so anyway, he called down and asked if so-and-so, the tombstone was for a Nancy Rawls. It was dated in 1852.
Wow.
So, and she was 2 years old at that time when she passed away. And what kind of made the people who found it nervous as they dug more into it, the day they found it was February the 24th, 159 years later. That was her birthday.
Wow.
So anyway,
wow. Okay, that's wild.
He made the effort after he determined he wouldn't let us come get. He wanted to bring it here to put it in its final and permanent resting where it belonged.
Wow.
So he drove 200 miles to bring it, and so some of the family members met there at that time, and that was replaced to the place it should be. But it's just a mystery. It just shows how far our history goes back.
Yeah.
In a strange way, how far our church has reached out. Why it ended up in Pigeon Forge, who knows?
That is bizarre, but that is so. So they found the headstone on this little girl's birthday.
Yes.
And you have to just wonder, somebody in the family must have taken it as a memento and then felt bad about it and thought, I'm just going to leave this right here. And I mean, who knows?
There's no way.
Who knows? That's bizarre. That is wild. And it may have been that somebody took it. You know, who knows about maybe the parent that lost the child took it 20 years after the death as a memento and had to move away. I'm just, my mind goes into scenarios. I'm a writer, and I love to kind of fill in the missing pieces, you know, thinking, well, suppose what could have happened, and maybe put a, it may have been just maybe they had to move away, and she couldn't bear to leave it, and it was something they took,
Yeah.
and then it's just been in the family, and people are like, I don't know what to do with this, and
They
somebody
just left it.
fortunately somebody that was a good steward of what they found made it help it find its own. That's a cool story. But see, as I'm looking at your flyer here, a walk through history. You're going to have the chance to do that walkthrough and see the pictorial history, and then you're going to unpack it for them on Sunday. That's the thing. So, are you going to have a regular Sunday service? What time do you normally meet on Sunday?
The service will start at 10:15, and
Okay.
we're going to do a lot of our regular service as part of the program, because
Okay.
that's the main purpose of this whole thing,
Yeah.
is serving the Lord. So you don't want to cut the other is just for information
Right.
and just to relive the services or a special event there or whatever.
Cool.
It's so we would do our regular service, and just this is just a bonus to it to have that opportunity. And then also after the service, we will have a fellowship meal.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
dinner on the grounds,
and
y'all.
there'll be great food there.
Come on.
Well, that was one
Yeah.
of the older members referred to it. In the time past, there was our parking lot was a big area of old oak trees, and so that's where they served dinner on the grounds. It's referred to. They built some huge, long white tables to set up at that point in time.
Yeah.
And of course, that was the campsite for.
Yeah.
During the camp meetings, that's where people were living during that time. So I guess that's the reason they chose that site for the food at that point. Now we will actually serve it in an air conditioned, or if we need heat,
Yeah.
fellowship hall that we built several years ago as an addition to our church. The church itself, the frame part of the building was erected in 1883. So, of course, throughout our history, we've done numerous remodeling projects. One other kind of interesting thing is that when the church was built and the original sanctuary as we know it now was remodeled in 1937, they decided to dig a basement. Well, this was after the church has been sitting there since 1883. So they dug the basement with picks, shovels, wheelbars, and the ladies, particularly of the church, were very concerned that by digging out the basement after it's there, that the church would fall in. So, as evident today, it is still there, so that didn't happen. But it was just the worry and concern of digging the basement out after the fact.
Yeah. Y'all sure this is a good idea?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's great.
Exactly. But we've had numerous remodeling
Yeah.
projects. We were able to do that by just our tithing, by donations, memorials for families, just their money. Their donations God has directed us in what to do
Multiply it.
and try to grow it and make it better. Like I said, the church is there. That's all important. But the church is the people.
Amen.
And it's made up of who the people are in the congregation, and that we worship together, we serve together, and we try to help our fellow man in any way that we can.
I love it. And we're out of time. I've got to
Okay.
do another break, and we're going to come by and just recap the details. And you can still call it dinner on the grounds, even though it's inside a building.
Yeah,
You
right.
can call it that. That's
we're
the old
gonna have
school
dinner.
way.
We'll have
But
dinner on
I
the
love
grounds.
it. It'll be wonderful. But we do need to pause and talk about my friends Barry and Rebecca Richards with Exit Prime Realty. Love these folks. If you need help in real estate, cannot say enough. Highly recommend them. Love the Exit Realty company. They've been a part of that. They were originally part of the Garden Gate team. And then when Barry opened his brokerage office here in Springfield, then Rebecca's got the agency office out in White House. They combined those two to bring you a new branch in the Exit tree, and they are Exit Prime Realty. Exit Prime Realty, you can Google them. They each have their own unique web page that will tell you all about them. You're going to see about Barry's marketing background, and that's just priceless when it comes to working in real estate. If you're selling property, it's got to look good. It's got to be marketed properly, and you got a marketer there that can do it. Rebecca is one of the first in the area to be a seniors real estate specialist. She specializes in helping people that are older. If you got family land, kids don't want to move, the kids aren't going to use it, and you want to downsize, there's a lot of nuances of that. And she's been specially trained to make sure she can help you with all those issues. Buying or selling, whatever it might be. If you've got somebody that's wanting to mentor into real estate, I've got a friend of mine I've got to talk to them about that's somebody from Ukraine, a refugee, and she was a realtor in Ukraine, and I've got to call them because I really want them to say, can you help her develop a new career in a new country? And I mean, yeah, they're the people who can mentor and do that. Whatever your real estate needs are, give them a call. You can call Rebecca 615-504-7425, 615-504-7425. You can connect with them at sellwithbecky.com, buy, B-U-Y, robertsoncounty.com. Again, just reach out to them, Google them. They're in Cross Plains, been there for nearly 30 years. So they specialize in Robertson County properties, but also buy and sell in the surrounding counties and across the state line in Kentucky, because like me, they're from Kentucky, y'all. But great friends, always involved in the community. Cannot say enough about it. You'll probably see them at Open Door tonight because Barry does the video presentations for Open Door Pregnancy and Resource Center. So cannot say enough about my wonderful friends and sponsors, longtime, full-time sponsors. To come out to the Chili Challenge tonight. $10 get you in the door. You can try all the chilies. Bring a pocket full of cash, though, so you can vote for your favorite. It's going to, doors open at 5:30. It all starts at 6. Everybody's there. If you want to catch up with everybody, it's like a big old family reunion here in Robertson County at the Chili Challenge at the center. You do not want to miss it tonight. So I'm wearing my old, one of my previous year's Open Door shirts. But this is the weekend to get out to the Mount Sharon Cumberland Presbyterian Church, 200 years, 200th anniversary. And I'll mention this tomorrow if you'll leave this with me.
Yes, I will.
And invite them again. But just do the big invite real quick for me, and we'll wrap it up. So tell them all about it real fast.
Okay. Well, we would love to have you. Mount Sharon Church is celebrating 200 years, which is just outstanding. We're very proud of our church and the work that we've accomplished in God's world. As LaVern said, the Saturday will be October the 19th, starting at 8 o'clock. Breakfast is free. Farmers market, bakery items, games, bounce houses, live music, just throughout, and walk and study and look throughout our church and learn more about us, and just celebrate your either previously being able to worship with us, or maybe you'll have the opportunity to look at us and see if you'd like to come to worship with us. And then on Sunday we will have a presentation, our normal worship service. And just please come and worship with us is the main thing.
10:15.
At 10:15, and there will be dinner on the grounds. So come out and enjoy that as well. I want to thank LaVern for having us
Enjoy the visit.
to be able to share the history of our church, and we just are very proud of it and would like to have you join us. But again, thank you for having us today to give me the opportunity to share. I hope I didn't mess anything up on it.
We did great. Like I said, we're a little over. You'll use like LaVern. Wrap it up.
Okay. Thank you very much.
But I'll tell you, let me do the address. 4634 Mount Sharon Church Road, 4634 Mount Sharon Church Road. Turned by Miss Rhonda's Antiques off of 431 South. So there's your address, and we'll talk about it more. Thank you, Daryle. So nice to meet you and visit with you. Thank you guys for joining us again for One Street Over. We'll be back tomorrow with Friday. Hope you'll join us. Go to the Chili Challenge tonight, guys.
There's excitement in the air that's growing stronger day by day. For all I've longed for,